Hi, Steve Woodruff here. In this session, we're going to focus on what I call the big question. The big question is the most powerful question you can use on your job interview. This big question is the beginning of the business interview. Let's take a step back and remember this, that 80% of all selling is asking the right questions. Selling is not telling. But selling is asking the right questions at the right time. As Covey says, before you can be understood, you first must understand. So we need to get in the heart and in the head of the person we're interviewing with. And the way you do that is by asking the right questions at the right time. And this big question is the most powerful question a sales associate can use on their job interview. It accomplishes two things. First, it really is the very beginning of the business interview. It's where we've rang the doorbell, we've smiled, we've paid them a sincere compliment, we've taken them to the kitchen table, we've broken the ice, we've schmoozed with them, and now it's time to get down to business. And by asking this big question, it truly is the beginning of the business interview. The other thing it does is when you ask this big question, it sends the feelings to the other person that you're not there just to get the listing and sell, close, and pressure them. Remember, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So this big question will transfer the feelings that you're there looking out for their welfare and you're focusing on them rather than your commission check. What is this big question? It goes like this. Now, let's remember, we've rang the doorbell, smiled, paid them a sincere compliment, taken them to the kitchen table, broken the ice, schmoozed with them. So now it's time to get down to business. Well, Mr. Marcel, you're the most important people here today. So let me ask you this. What do you expect from our get-together here today? And what would be the ideal outcome for you? What do you expect from our get-together today, and what would be the ideal outcome for you? So in reality, there's two questions there. The first is, what do you expect from our get-together here today? Every seller has expectations. They have an agenda. Before you ring that doorbell, they have an agenda. They expect certain things to happen. So why guess? Let's ask, what do you expect from our get-together today, and what would be the ideal outcome? So that second question, and what would that be your ideal outcome? Let's find out what their ideal outcome would be. Because again, this is a two-way interview. It's a compatibility meeting. We're hard workers, we're not miracle workers, so let's find out what that outcome will be. So we can take a step back and decide if we can fulfill that ideal outcome. So what do you expect from our get-together today, and what would be the ideal outcome? Now, when we ask that question, we have to stop, listen, and pay attention to the response. And what I'm suggesting is that when they do respond, that you take notes. Now, why do we want to take notes? It lets the other person know that we're listening and what they're saying is important and we care about them. Now, once they respond, we're going to ask some tag-on questions to expand our understanding. What do you expect from our get-together today, and what would be the ideal outcome? Okay. In addition to that, is there anything else? That's the tag-on question. And we're going to listen, take notes. And we will get something else. Anything more? Okay. Is that it? Now sometimes that will be it. Other times they'll want to give us more. That's okay. The more we get, the better we understand them and we can determine if we can help them. So Mr. Marceller, you're the most important people here today. So let me ask you this. What do you expect from our get-together here today, and what would be the ideal outcome for you? Okay. In addition to that, is there anything else? Ah, okay. Anything more? Is that it? Great. So what we've done is we've gathered that information. We've solicited more information by asking those tag-on questions. Now we need to paraphrase it back to them. Now, why do we need to paraphrase it back to them? Because many times, lack of communication is the issue that creates problems. And lack of communication is miscommunication. So we want to feed it back to them and make certain we heard what they said, and also they said what they meant. So if I've listened to you effectively, you like to accomplish the following. Bing, bing, bing. So I'm feeding it back to them. Have I left anything out? Mr. Marcella, you're the most important people here today. So let me ask you, what are your expectations of our get-together, and what would be the ideal outcome? Okay. In addition to that, is there anything else? Anything more? Is that it? Well, great. So if I've listened to you effectively, what you'd like to accomplish is this, this, and this. Have I left anything out? Now, if you've left something out, that's good news because you discovered it before you moved on. When you paraphrase it back to those people, it lets them know that you're really listening, that what they shared with you is important, and that you care about their situation. So asking that big question, those tag-on questions, feeding it back to them, paraphrasing, and saying, have I left anything out, really is the beginning of the business interview. Once you gather that information, you can take a step back and decide if you can fulfill those expectations and exactly how to address them and address them in what order. So this big question is so very powerful. It lets the people know that you care about them. Your focus is on them, not the real estate, not your commission check. And also that big question is the beginning of the business interview. Mr. Marcella, you folks are the most important people here today. So let me ask you this. What do you expect from our get-together today? And what would be the ideal outcome for you? Okay. Great. In addition to that, is there anything else? Okay. Anything more? Is that it? Great. If I've listened to you effectively, what you'd like to accomplish is bing, bing, bing. Have I left anything out? So this big question, use it on your job interview. It's a more professional way to open that dialogue, present yourself as that trusted advisor, and help your clients make good decisions. And once we understand that, then we can work towards to assure that seller experiences a successful sale, where they get to the closing on time, on their time schedule. They experience a worry-free, smooth transaction with the fewest amount of problems, and when they arrive at the closing, they get the most money the market will allow. So as a trusted advisor, we're going to use that big question to understand our client and help them make good decisions and always look out for their best interest. So I encourage you to use this, and I wish you continuous success. See you next time.